Well, well, well. It's an evening stream. Stream number 293. I streamed earlier today, and I'm streaming again! And probably no one's expecting me to stream, but that's okay. I wanted to do a little bit more of Advent of Code, and I figured why not just stream it? Doesn't matter if I'm on my normal schedule or not. I'll still be back tomorrow. Let's see if I can catch up. So, we've been working on this Advent of Code. And if you haven't heard of Advent of Code, let me put in a command here. There's a link to it. So it's a series of programming puzzle challenges, one per day. Well, two per day technically. There's a part one and a part two. One set per day for every of the first 25 days of December. So in an hour and 17 minutes, the puzzle set 17 will unlock. I haven't gotten there yet. Today I worked on 11 and 12. 12 took me a really long time. I got stuck. And I'm going to continue again this evening to try to see if I can catch up. Probably won't, but I'll be happy just to get maybe 13 and maybe 14 done. So we'll see. All right. So we're going to say I am no longer starting the stream. I am working on puzzle 13-1. And if you're watching this after the fact, because probably you are, there's probably no one watching me right now. The end of the last stream, I didn't quite get it finished. Post-stream, I did. I had bugs in calculation of prime numbers. So I fixed it, so now I have this prime factor function template. And just the logic in here is all screwed up. So I got through it. It's not refactored at all, but it does do two things. In this little set here, it calls itself recursively in order to build a table of prime numbers. And once the prime numbers are known, it walks through them basically to get the prime factors of a number. Those prime factors are used to find the least common multiple. And I'm aware this isn't the most efficient way to get the least common multiple. There's a faster way using the Euclidean method, which I know now because I looked it up. But this is the prime factor approach where you find all of the primes of all of the values of which you want to find the least common multiple, and then you take the maximum power that every prime is raised to for all of them, and you combine them together and multiply it all out. So now, whereas before I couldn't, where I show it, maybe at the top. Probably around here is where I got to. This is where I got to by the end of the stream. I had my solution calculating 3 numbers, and outside of my program, I took these numbers and found the least common multiple, which turns out to be a 15-digit number. So now I have updated the program to include that calculation of least common multiple, and we get the answer to for my inputs, the output that matches the puzzle. So anyway. On to 13-1. So, 13-1. As you ponder the solitude of space and the ever-increasing 3-hour round trip for messages between you and Earth, you notice that the space mail indicator light is blinking. To help keep you sane, the elves have sent you a care package. It's an all-new game for the ship's arcade cabinet. Unfortunately, the arcade is all the way on the other end of the ship. Surely it won't be hard to build your own. The care package even comes with schematics. The arcade cabinet runs int-code software like the game the elves sent. Your puzzle input. It has a primitive screen, capable of drawing square tiles on a grid. The software draws tiles to the screen with output instructions. Every 3 output instructions specify the X position, distance from the left, Y position, distance from the top, and tile ID. The tile ID is interpreted as follows. We have empty tile, wall tile, block tile, which is a block that can be broken by the ball, horizontal paddle, and a ball tile. The ball moves diagonally and bounces off objects. For example, a sequence of output values like 1, 2, 3, 6, 5, 4 draw a horizontal paddle tile. That's the 1, X, 2, Y, 3 is horizontal paddle. And a ball tile at 6 by 5, draw 4, which is a ball tile. Makes sense, right? So start the game. How many block tiles are on the screen when the game exits? Get my puzzle input. So this is going to use the int code machine. And the last time we used that, I think, was challenge 11.2. So let me open up 11.2. Source 11.2. Main. Okay. Yes, this has my the encode machine. So let me take this, make a copy, and call it 13-1 in the build system. Put 13.1. And then this subdirectory for 13.1, let me fix up the name because we copied it from 11.2. 13.1. Build that thing. Oh, and I think I might have been building the release build, so let me go back and check. No, we're on debug, so we're cool. All right, so debug build. And let me get set to run this 13-1, and we need to copy the new input program. Puzzle input. Oh, and I should have started my timer. I'm going to add 5 minutes to the timer when I'm done, because we're at 6 minutes streaming and I talked for a little bit and then started the problem, right? All right, so example, input. Right, okay, so there's our input program. Let's go into the main here. So here's our machine. Okay, so this is still the same. This builds up the machine, right? So the next part of the challenge, I'm guessing that it doesn't take any input. So there's only output. So we're just going to make a grid and build it from the output, and then I guess we want to draw it, all right? Or it just says how many block tiles are on the screen. So we don't even have to draw it, we could just count them. I prefer to see it, though, to see if we're on the right track. So instead of panels, we're going to have, actually, we could just use the same map of positions, right? And actually, let's just keep it simple. Instead of panels, this is tiles. Construct the tiles to be drawn by the game. We don't need orientations or robot position or any of that, right? So run the machine, and we don't have any input. Taking the output as directives to draw into the tiles. Hey there, Tim. I know, I went back to a surprise evening stream. How are you doing? Hey there, Crumpet. How are you? Surprise evening stream. Totally not sponsored by North Coast Old Rasputin, which I found at Bevmo last night. I was so stoked. Not used to me streaming this late. Neither am I. And neither is my camera. Look at the weird blue screen effect I'm getting. And you have 180p here, so I'm that lucky. I got the quality options. That's good. I'm glad you're doing well, Tim. So yeah, I was kind of bummed that I didn't quite finish puzzle 12, so I came back to do some more. So while I was watching you, Tim, I think, and some other streamer before that, I was fixing my solution to puzzle 12. It all came down to computing the prime factors of numbers. So this function template, it's an ugly mess, but it works. It will take any input integer and give you an unordered map from prime number to power. So, for example, the number 6 would give you a map of 2 entries, a 2 and a 3, both with a value of 1. And an 8 would have a single value of 2 and 3. So that's used to build a least common multiple of several input values, and that ends up being the output of the 12-2. So yeah, spoiler alert, but because this is a 15-digit number, it's prohibitively expensive to do brute force. It'll probably take years. So the solution I came up with help from chat earlier was to break it up into solving it in 3 steps. So solve it for the X, Y, and Z dimensions. And then where these, since these are cycles of this many steps, if you find the lowest common multiple, that many cycles will bring all 3 into phase. And so that was the solution. So anyway, yeah, 13-1 is what we're doing now, and it's It looks like it's an easier one, which I kind of like. It's taking our existing encode software and just running it, taking the output and using it to draw a game output. So, in fact, there's no input at all, so I think it's ridiculously simple. All I need to do is draw into these tiles and print out at the end how many blocks are on the screen when it exits. This is one you never would have gotten without explanation. So maybe I'm missing something, but I think there is only the puzzle input and then there is output and there is no input. But we'll know because if I run my machine and it says it needs input, then we'll have a problem. All right, so I don't need this because we have no input, right? We just have output. We're going to run the machine and we're not going to look at... I'm not going to require any certain number of outputs. This is in threes, right? So we can just say for size ti is 0, I is less than output size, I plus equals 3. I guess we could have a check. If output dot size mod 3 is not equal to 0, then we got a problem, right? Houston, we have a problem. What are we gonna say? Improper number of output values. I don't think this will happen, but just in case I have a bug or something, we'll at least want to print something. Okay, so this is all gone, right? And that's all gone, and we might want to display later. So I'm just gonna comment that out for now, because we might reuse some of that. And we're going to be printing into this tiles map. So it's const auto x equals output I, const auto y is output I plus 1, and then it's which tile to draw onto it. So it'll be tiles xy equals output I plus 2. Well, thank you for that follow, you good doctor. And I don't want to use parentheses, right? I want to use brackets because it's a map. And then at the end, it wants to know how many block tiles are on the screen. So let's print that over here. Actually, I want to do this while it's... I want to do this down here, don't I? Actually, this should only need to run once. So I should have some check here. If not machine halted, then that means we had a problem. Input was requested, right? You told us you didn't need input. Swift rage. All right. So I don't need any of that. And I really just need to count to see how many of the tiles have a break in it left, right? Which is a 2. So we're just going to count them. Num bricks. Brickets. Bricks. 4 const auto tile and tiles. If tile dot second is 2 plus num bricks. And then printf. There were ZU bricks remaining at the end of the game. Alright, I hope it's this simple, otherwise I'm gonna be sad. Alright. Oh, this is the wrong type, right? Let's cast here. Is it... What did I have in position? Int, right? So int. And then another int. I did come to realize though that Turbo Boom feels like it has been in development much longer than expected because he started in July, so August, September, October, November. Yeah, I thought you said... I remember you saying something like it would be like 3 months per game, so this is like 5 months, right? Oh, but -3, so you should be almost done. Holy moly, a surprise bonus stream. Yeah, hi there, Rather Monkey. I don't expect a lot of viewers tonight because it is a surprise stream, and people who normally watch me don't know me. So, I mean, people who normally watch would probably be asleep or doing something else now, right? And people looking through Twitch now probably don't know who the heck I am. That's fine. It's always great to meet new people. Let me just run this thing and hope for the best. So copy from 2019 13-1 input, example input, right? Was that a beer? Yes. This is the unofficially not supported by not a sponsor or anything, but yeah, I'm drinking North Coast Old Rasputin. Totally recommended. It's 9% alcohol by volume. It's a Russian Imperial Stout. Example input. So advent of code 13.1, 273 bricks remaining. Okay, should I just go for it and say that's the answer? Am I that bold? I'm that bold. Yes. I bet number 2 is going to be to print it out or something, or maybe to play the game with input. Let us check this in. Cause yeah, we just won. I don't even need this, do I? I have a feeling I'm going to want it, but if I do, I'll copy it from 11.2. That was easy. I did that in 15 minutes. Let's check it in. Nail it! Victory! I have all of the Tim Bodette sound effects now in my head. Oh, you guys are all convincing me, from various streams I watch, convincing me I should have like sound effects in my channel. Because that seems to be a thing. Also, I should be having channel points. Anybody see channel points? I don't know what to do with them yet. Rainbow After Dark, yeah. Drinking a dark beer. Alright, is this ready to go? Commit? No, I need to actually stage it all. Commit. Push that. I do have points. What are we going to do with the points, though? I'm open to suggestions. Maybe sound effects. I'm thinking sound effects myself. So that means I'll probably have to figure out how many points sound effects should take. I don't have a monkey. I have a flicker instead. Remember, Tim, I was saying before, I have a cat, a dog, and a snake. I don't have a bird. You already had points? I mean, I had points earlier today? Because I got the notification that it went live just a couple hours ago. All right, so clearing. Now, do I dare look at part 2? It's probably going to be really hard because they sucker you in with an easy one first, and then they make the second one hard, right? All right. As you can see, the last one I did was terrible. It took me 3 hours. That one took me, how long did I say? 15 minutes? All right. I'm ready. Give it to me. The game didn't run because you didn't put in any quarters. Unfortunately, you did not bring any quarters. Memory address 0 represents the number of quarters that have been inserted. Set it to 2 to play for free. The arcade cabinet has a joystick that can move left and right. The software reads the position of the joystick with input instructions. If the joystick is in the neutral position, provide 0. If the joystick is tilted to the left, provide -1. If the joystick is tilted to the right, provide 1. The arcade cabinet also has a segment display capable of showing a single number that represents the player's current score. When 3 output instructions specify -1, 0, the third output instruction is not a tile. The value instead specifies the new score to show in the segment display. For example, a sequence of output values like -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the player's current score. Beat the game by breaking all the blocks. What is your score after the last block is broken? Ooh. That's the challenge. So we're going to have to see what the arena looks like and either control it ourselves. Actually, that's probably the best. Is just display it and control it ourselves, right? Yeah, I'm streaming late, Tim. How are you doing today? Or tonight, should I say. I had so much fun Friday and today doing Advent of Code that I decided I would continue it tonight. So I am catching up on Advent of Code. I am on day 13. In just under an hour, 17 will unlock. So of course I'm not going to make it, but I expect that within like the next couple times that I work on this stuff, I'll have caught up and maybe I'll be doing a late night stream, like trying to speedrun one of these. Oh, what's up, Colton? Sorry you're having a bad evening. Oh, you're going, Tim? Okay, good night. I do have a game to work on, Rally Monkey. But I figure I'll probably catch up, and at that point, even if I stay with it, unless I hit a really hard problem, they're only like an hour. So maybe a quarter of the stream will be keeping up with Advent of Code or something like that. You were just finishing day 7 when things happened. You had to stop. Now you're just browsing the Twitches of AOC streams. Oh, I'm sorry. So you might get a spoiler or two if you watch my stream. I hope that's okay. I can tell you that number 8 is really fun. At least I thought it was. I did it in 20 minutes. So if you finish day 7 and you haven't done day 8, you should do it day 8. It's really fun and quick. If you have a chance. Trying to get your game recovered after an upgrade. You hate upgrades. I'm sorry. The other Tim here, Tim Bodette, has trouble with upgrades too. Windows upgrades, right? Maybe all Tims are cursed with update curses. You had glossed over most of everything? Will these problems still be around? Yeah, so the only thing you lose is your ability to rank on the leaderboard. Oh, what? That was weird. The stats, I guess. Where is it? Personal stats. Personal stats under leaderboard. So your rank will probably be a really, really high number if you wait too long. But yeah, you can go back as far as, you can go back to the events. You can go to 2015, the first year they did it. So we could do this now. And play the one that's 4 years old. Why not? So they'll still be around for a while. Hey there, Nuclehead. Well, thank you very much. How are you doing? Let's see. Oh, you're upgrading Unity. Yeah, I've heard bad things from other Unity developers about that. Before you upgrade to Unity, you have to really consider if you're willing to like give up another day or week to upgrade problems. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. You're not alone though. I know at least 3 other Unity devs on Twitch who really hate upgrading Unity. Yeah, so Red Rampage Crumpet is one of them. He is an occasional, would you say an occasional streamer, Crumpet? Or would you call yourself still a streamer doing game dev? He's making a game also in Unity, and yeah, I think he knows your pain. Okay, so on 13 part 2, it's essentially going to be like 13 part 1, except for we need to display the board and our score. And we should wait until it gets it asks for an input, and when it does, we should just manually control it, right? So let's go take 13.1 and make a copy and call it 13.2. I should start the timer now. Way too many people. Well, I'm in a tiny little house with way too many little people. That's why I have this mic so that you can't hear my kids screaming in the background. Actually, they're really nice tonight. They're not making noise. And it might be because it's in the evening and their friends aren't over. But I know too well how that can be really distracting and all that. Okay, 13. So we should update the current. I'm scatterbrained right now. 13.2 is a new subdirectory. And we're going to change the makefile so that it's a unique program. You need an entire world to yourself. You can always make a virtual one. That's what I'm doing normally on Twitch. It's making my own game. I can invent my own world. And one thing I've learned is that if you make the game engine yourself, it takes a couple extra years. But I think it's fun. Making your own game world. If I was pressed for time, I'd probably pick an existing game engine. All right, so we're not going to just run... Oh, did I copy the wrong thing? Oh, the other solution had these variables we didn't need. That's why those are there. So now we're going to need input. The trick, I think it said we have to insert quarters into the machine. So insert quarters into the machine. And so that is machine dot numbers. It said a memory address 0 is a number of quarters. So that's 2 in memory location 0. And then run the machine, taking the output as directives to draw into the tiles. After, whenever input is required, display the tiles along with the current score and ask the user to control the joystick, or to give a joystick, or provide a joystick control direction thingy. So we're going to have an output. This is going to be in a loop, right? While not machine halted. And we're going to do that. What are we printing at the end? We just need to print the score. We'll do that anyway, right? Technically, the last run might not ask for input, right? So we should ask for input here if the machine isn't halted. And we'll remove this. So we run the machine. We'll keep that check in there. This updates the tiles, but we have to be careful because it can also update the segment display. So we have a score, right? What is our initial score? I'm assuming it's 0. So score 0. And if it's a -1 for x, then it is updating the score. So if x is -1, then updating the score. Otherwise, we're drawing a tile, right? So score equals int output I plus 2. And I guess y isn't used there. Let's see. Oh, it's if those two are correct. So it's in both, if both are true. X is -1 and y equals 0. Then it is the score. Got it. Okay. So if the machine's not halted, we're going to draw the board, I guess? Or should we draw the board at the beginning? No, we should draw the board at the end. Right here. So, draw the board. Draw the tiles, basically. And we don't know how wide they are, so I think I need... Oh, thank you for that follow. I missed the name, but welcome. We're going to... We don't know how wide or tall the board is, but in other code I did this, right? Min-x... Yeah, in 11.2 we did this. So... It's interesting. Oh yeah, this I should just remove that now. We don't need that from 13.1. Okay, so there... I forgot to save that. We have these extra variables. Actually, let's do that here before we draw the tiles. Sure. Let's do it every time, because technically the board size could change mid-game, right? And then we have this stuff in here. Okay, it's not going to be that simple. We got to go through all the tiles and grab that, right? Oh, thank you for the follow. I missed that name too, but it began with an NEU. Okay, max, min, y. We're going to go through all the tile and the tiles. I guess we don't need to count bricks anymore. So, yeah, we can remove that. Min, okay, I was just going to copy from that, right? Tile dot x is what we want, right? And y. And what did I get wrong here? It's dot first. Dot x and y. Okay, and once we have that, we can go through again and actually plot them, right? Because using that x and y, we can get the width and height. Like that. And, right, this had this in there. So we'll call it tiles entry. Find, basically scanning from top to bottom, left to right, find that tile, and if it exists, then draw something. Actually, this is perfect. We'll just copy this code. So it's not a color, really, it's tile, right? So let's pick a default tile. Hey there, Toulouse, I'm back. How are you doing? Decided that I would have more fun with Advent of Code tonight. Don't know how long I'm going to stream. Probably not that much longer than another couple hours because they got to get up early and drive kids to school and all that. So this is Tile's entry. Doing well? How many times did you die tonight? Toulouse, his alter ego, streams Minecraft pretty much every day. And if you're into Minecraft, you should check out his channel. He plays everything from vanilla Minecraft. He did the hardcore Minecraft challenge, and he does all sorts of mod pack stuff. You had 4 deaths today? That's not bad. It's not bad. You know, it's because I wasn't watching that you died. I have to watch the entire time. Yep, Crumpet, Toulouse has failed to survive. Alright. Tile will be Tile's entry second, but what do I use for a default? I guess 0. No object appears in this tile. Okay. So, right, so is paint's a good word? I don't need this up anymore. Paints is fine. So maybe a space and then a wall. What should I do for a wall? Actually, a hashtag is probably good enough. A brick is I don't know. How about a star for a brick? And then 3 is the paddle. How about we'll just do a pipe? And 4 is the ball. How about lowercase o? So we're going to paint based off of the tile. And, oh, there's something missing here. Yeah, the new line here. And then after we draw the tiles, draw the current score. Actually, let's just say draw the current score as a separate paragraph here. Current score. Decimal. Actually, I could put it on the same line, right? You know what? I should draw it even if the machine has halted. I should. So let's pull all of that out of that if there. And do that. So this is run the machine until it needs input. Draw the current state of the tiles. Draw the current score. Yeah. So score, and then if the machine hasn't yet halted, ask for joystick input. Okay, so printf. Let's keep it simple. 1 for how about like do this? Let's do 2 for center. 3. And then just keep it simple, get a line of input. So get S. I forget how this works. I gotta look at this stuff up. Where's my Chrome? Here's my Chrome. Dev docs. C. Get S. You know, I'll just use a reusable static char input. It doesn't need to be that long. It's only one keystroke, right? So I don't know. What's the minimum I can get away with? A null character is written. So if I'm only going to write to 1 character, I can just do 2, right? So get S input. And that just returns the string, and it's always going to succeed. It will never fail. And then switch input 0. Actually, I don't need a switch. It's just the input, right? machine input pushback. And what is it? How does it want the input given? So it's just one input instruction. That's it? Okay. So the way I have it, I can just take the character and subtract the character 2 from it. So pushback int input 0 minus the character of 2. So if it's the character 1, it'll end up being -1. If it's 2, it'll be 0. If you put in 3, it will be 1. I think that's exactly what we want, right? And then it will continue. And then what do we print here at the end? Game over, man. Game over. All right. Couple things are wrong here. Oh, output is, well, I is not correct. That should be tile. And then what was wrong with output? It's, oh, it just wasn't initialized correctly. GetS, not, because that is in standard IO, right? No? Where's GetS declared? Okay. Uh-oh, removed in C++ and C11. That's the problem, right? Well, I guess we can do getSS. I've never done this. I guess it does exist. What's N then? Oh, so I just tell it the size of it. Size of input. Wonderful. Does it actually work? Cannot convert it. Oh, because they don't do address of. There we go. Cool. Let's see if it works. Let's play the game. Did it say it was the same input? Yeah, same input. Okay, so I just copy from the example my input and then run it. Okay. Wait a minute, is it not a... Oh, it's a horizontal paddle. Okay. I need to... it's important. I need to fix the paddle image. Underscore. There we go. Much better. Okay, we're playing the game. Let's just sit still. I think we need to move one to the right. Yay, I bounced it. I should probably move the paddle to the left. Oh no, I'm gonna lose. I lost. I guess they made it complex enough that we need to actually program it with artificial intelligence to play it. Well, I could develop that by just looking at it myself. I suppose we can just provide a 2 if it's... No, we could just have it track, right? Yeah, so we would go... Oop, I hit 11 instead of 1. And I crashed it. Actually, why did that crash it? I'm curious. That should have only read up to 1 character. I'm just curious to see. Let me run on the debugger and see it. Make... It's 13... Hold on. 13.2. Run. Oh, I can't run. I can't provide it. I can provide it here. Okay, good. Is that not how you provided input? Actually, it's not working, is it? I can't run it in the debugger. Oh well. Scratch that. I can actually run it here, and then when I get this screen, then I can attach it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do add configuration attach. And I'm going to go to, actually need to call it something. Attach to this one. And then I go to this window and hit retry. There we are. So the error is... Wait a minute, what is that? It's the 0 character. Wait a minute, or is it on... What's the error? I guess I should have looked at it before I hit retry. I wonder if it just overwrote memory and just screwed everything up. Let's detach. Let me see that error again. Debug assertion failed. Buffer is too small. Oh, interesting. So getS actually throws an exception. Huh. Who'd have thunk it? Detector runtime, the call. Let's see, what's it do? Excuse me. Oh, is it just because we're running in the debug runtime that it's doing that? No, that's not the problem, Toulouse. It's that I actually input 2 characters and this is not enough to fit it. I would expect that it would just truncate, but it looks like it actually does a check of some kind. What does it... It says it... oh, there's a constraint handler. Aha. Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about it. Let's just play the game without hitting more than 1 character. So, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1. I'm not going to get it back in time, am I? I'm going to lose, so... Wait a minute. I don't have time to get the paddle back. Does that mean I have to do that? Nope, it passed me up. 2, 3, 3, 3. Nope. 2, 3, 3, 1. Nope. 2, 3, 2. 1, 1, 1. I can't get the paddle back in time. Wait a minute, then how do... That's not fair. I can't move the paddle fast enough. 2, 2. Oh, wait a minute. If it's directly above and I have it neutral, it just bounces up. Then go 3, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1. Okay. So we're tracking it. Oh, and then it bounced the other way. 3, 3, 3. So I could just have it chase it forever, right? Just going either 1 or 3. When do we ever do a 2? I'm just going 1 and 3 right now. I'm having too much fun playing this game. Uh-oh, it's bouncing internally now. When would we ever do a 2? Okay, it's coming back. Will we get back in time? Yes, okay. I know, I have 1,466 points. Or are you talking about stream points? I suppose... Oh, I went the wrong way. Now I'm going to lose. Okay, I think I'm ready to have it play itself. So we need to search for where the ball is horizontally compared to where the paddle is, and just do either 1 or a 3, right? So that time we do a 1. Actually, I guess we do a 2 if it's right under it, right? And then a 3. Yeah, that'll work. So we'll have it play itself now, or we'll have my AI play it. So instead of ask, so let's comment this out. I should have made a copy of it first. Comment this copy back in. If the machine hasn't yet halted, provide joystick input by finding the ball and paddle and moving or attempting to keep the paddle directly under the ball. Possible transfer points seem like a good time to get into mugging. I don't think you can transfer them. Sorry. Yeah, you do get more points being a sub, but I don't know. I don't know what to say about the channel point stuff. I haven't set it up yet. Just got it today. Let's see. The machine hasn't halted, so we're not going to print that. We could, while we were drawing it, figure out where the ball was, right? So, in fact, we'll know where it is as it's being set. Why don't we try to record where it is? So, int ball and int paddle. Okay, so we can grab this first. Const auto tile equals that, and then that's a tile. And we'll say if tile is, what's the ball? The ball is 4. Ball equals x. Else if tile is 3, paddle equals x. All right, and then we'll just say if paddle equals ball, so we're going to give it an input, right? Input. Actually, let's do it with a ugly looking ternary operator. It's a 0. Otherwise, if paddle is, if the paddle is on the left of the ball, then we want to move to the right, so that's a 1, right? Otherwise, a -1 will move the paddle to the left. And then machine input, pushback input. And then this will just run forever until we beat the game or we lose. Can't, because we're running it. Control C, build, and here we go. It's playing itself. I can't see it very well. Can I constrain this to see it? No, it's going to be really hard to see. How about if I just do it and go to output? Question is, will it end up winning ever, or will it just get stuck? Isn't there a way to look at the last few rows of a file? Why am I in Bouncer? I don't remember. Advent of code 20 build 2019 13-2. Is it tail? Oh, actually, it's down to like only one thing left, I think. There's only one thing left. Oh, I won. 1,300, oh, 13,140. How many times did it take? I guess we can do a word count. 180,000 lines. It'd be cool if I could figure out a way to plot that in real time. There's a way to do it with tail, isn't there? Like to tell it the number of lines. Oh, here we go. Output the last lines. So if I do like, let's just run it again. Tail dash N15 out. Actually the problem is we're not pausing at the end, right? Well, how about 20? Yeah, see, there's no V sync. And we need more than 20 anyway. 25? It played itself too fast. More than 25. 30? There's no vertical. Oh, there we go. So there's the board. Interesting. I guess another way to do it would be to use cursors or something and have it go up and scan to the top. Do I want to bother looking that up, or do I just want to move on? Yeah, if I do tail-f and then run it again, we won't be able to see it really easily. I think I just need to do like a cursors or something where we actually move the cursor up. I just don't know if I want to waste time looking at that because we had the answer, right? It was, I guess we'll have to wait for it to play again. It was like 13,000 something, right? I should have wrote down the answer after it was done playing. Oh, there we go. 13,140. Submit. Yay. Game over is a success. Well, yeah, it won't lose. It'll eventually... It just the amount of time depends on... does it depend on chance? I don't know if there's any randomness in it or not. I guess there wouldn't be. So does that mean the word count is going to be consistent? Okay. So, yeah. I guess we can print out how many turns it took. It took us turns. Don't know if that's what a turn is. To beat the game. Because we'll always beat the game, right? So, we need to have turns. Size t turns. And I'll increment turns when we actually make a decision in the logic here. Right here. And let's just run it one more time. And I won't tail it this time. I wonder if the tail slowed it down. Instead I'll do a word count. So when it gets to 180,000, it finishes the game. While it's doing that, let's check in the code. We're going to just check this in as remove unneeded variables from 13.1. And then this is add solution to... Oh, I forgot what it is. This. Get GUI this string. Commit. All right. Our tail out. 6,671 turns to beat the game. Okay, cool. Yeah. So how long did that take me? I'm gonna say it took 30 minutes. Although I think I finished a few minutes ago. I purposefully made it longer because I was having too much fun with it. Where's my window again? Here it is. 13-2 took me 30 minutes. 40 minutes? I don't know, the timer says 30 minutes, 35 seconds. I think I was reading the instructions for a while. I'll go with what you said. 40 minutes. Doesn't feel right? First one was 15 minutes. It can't be 45, can it? Or 50. That would mean... It's not exactly 40. Let's break it in half. 35 minutes. Yeah, let's just say 35 minutes. I'm not really that... I don't need to be that exact. Okay, moving on. Return. We are on number 14. Ooh, that looks impressive. Should I be scared? 14.1. Here we go. Oh, in 23 minutes, we can all start on 17 if we wanted. Space, how do you say that word? Stoichiometry? I don't know how to say it. As you approach the rings of Saturn, the ship's low fuel indicator turns on. Oh, I remember watching someone work on this for like a few minutes and then realized what they were doing. I'm like, oh, I don't want to see any spoilers. There isn't any fuel here, but the rings have plenty of raw fuel. Perhaps your ship's interstellar refinery, Union brand nanofactory can turn those raw materials into fuel. You ask the nanofactory to produce a list of reactions it can perform that are relevant to this process. Your puzzle input. Every reaction turns some quantities of specific input chemicals into some quantity of an output chemical. Almost every chemical is produced by exactly one reaction. The only exception, ore, is the raw material input to the entire process is not produced by the reaction. You just need to know how much ore you'll need to collect before you can produce 1 unit of fuel. Each reaction gives specific quantities for its inputs and output. Reactions cannot be partially run, so only whole integer multiples of these quantities can be used. It's okay to have leftover chemicals when you're not done, or when you're done though. For example, reaction 1A, 2B, 3C to 2D means 2 units of D can be produced by consuming 1A, 2B, and 3C. You run the fuel reaction as many times as necessary. I should be running my timer, by the way. For example, you could produce 10D by running it 5 times, basically. Suppose your nanofactory produces these reactions. The first 2 reactions are only ore as inputs, indicate you can produce as much of A as you want. To produce 1 fuel, a total of 31 ore is needed, 1 ore to produce 1B, then 30 more ore to produce the 28A, with 2 extra A wasted, requiring the reactions to convert the B into C, to D, to E, and finally to fuel. Got it. 30A is produced because this reaction requires that it is created in increments of 10. Yes. Okay, I think I get it. There are some larger examples. Ooh, it gets complicated. I bet mine is going to be horrible. Oh yeah, look at that. Lovely. So this is a brand new program, not based on anything else. I think 12 was one where we had multiple lines. Yeah, so let's grab 12 and call it 14-1. 14.1, yeah. Okay, just checking. 14.1 is added to our subdirectory list. 14.1 will have a makefile, so we have a number in there, and then I'm just going to build that, and then it should build it into this folder. 14-1, there it is. So let me grab the input and replace this example input with that. There we go, and copy it into place, but I think I'm going to start with one of the examples first. I mean, not from my example folder, I mean from the problem. One of these smaller ones. Let me grab one of these first. We'll grab this one. And then I'll go to where put it in the build folders here, and just right now, is that the right folder? Yeah. Just replace it. Okay, now to write the code. So first we got to read this into, I suppose, a bunch of recipes. Actually, I think we just work it backwards, right? It's like a dependency tree. Yeah, can't we just say, well, we need 2 ABs. How do we make an AB? Oh, we use this recipe. We need to run it twice, so we'll end up needing 6 A's and 8 B's. And then we need the 3 of those, so we'll need to run that one 3 times. We need 4 of those, so we need to run that one 4 times. And we can just keep doing that until we end up with ore, right? The answer is how much ore we need, right? Yeah, the minimum number of ore. Okay, so that doesn't sound too hard. Let's do it. Do I need any of this old crud? No. Don't need any of this, although that was cool to write. I don't need it. Boom, gone. I'm gonna leave my include list, even though it's kind of ugly. Okay, so it's not moons anymore. These are recipes, right? So it's going to be number, space, identifier, space, arrow, and then maybe a comma. So there's going to be a lot of parsing involved. And what we're going to end up is an output and then multiple inputs. And then for every input and output, there will be a number and a chemical. So let's start with the data structures that we'll need. Struct, I'll just call it a chemical. And we'll have string for name and then a quantity. And then we'll have another one for recipe. And then it's chemical output and then vector of chemicals for the input. Why do I keep tabbing over? I don't know. And then we'll need something that parses a line into a recipe. And I suppose we'll want to organize the recipes by output name, right? So we'll have, we'll end up having in the end a map of recipes. So map, I suppose it's ordered because I don't know how to make a key for an unordered map yet, because I'm still learning how to do that. So we'll just make it from chemical to recipe, I suppose. Actually, let's just do from string, then I can do an unordered map. Unordered map from... I need to check, though. There might be the case that there are multiple recipes. I should look at my own example input for that. All right. Yeah. Is there more than one recipe to make any one chemical? There might be. That's where it would get complicated, right? If there are two recipes that make the same thing with different chemicals, inputs. I don't see any, though. Was there one there? Nope. I guess I could have my program check that. Let's just assume that there's only one recipe to make any one chemical. Because if there are multiple recipes, it might get complicated because we'd have multiple dependency options, right? Yeah, let's just assume that there's only one. So it would be a map from one string to a recipe. Recipes. And then there's a line, and then every line will have a recipe, and that can get complicated, right? How in general to parse this? We should first break it by finding that delimiter, right? So const auto output delimiter is line.find that. And then I suppose we should have a check, right? If output delimiter is standard string no position, then we're going to throw a fit. Standard error, Bible thump, bad recipe, and then return exit failure. Hey there, iGrok. Yeah, super late stream for me. I'll probably only go for another hour, then I gotta sleep. But I wanted to catch up, and I had been to code, and I was having so much fun. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so given that we found the output delimiter, then we can have a function that we can reuse to parse the a chemical, and then so everything on the right is the output. Everything on the left we need to break by commas, right? So const const auto inputs is line substring from 0 to the output delimiter. And then we need to have a loop. So let's have a chemical. Actually, we're going to be building a recipe anyway, right? So recipe. The recipe will have an output. So let's just have the inputs. We'll keep processing the inputs until it's empty. So while not inputs empty, const auto input delimiter is inputs find a comma, right? Actually, I could be more crafty and do comma space. and then it will automatically trim it for me. In fact, I can do the same thing with the arrow. I can do a space, arrow space. Arrow space, ha ha ha. Anyway, it might not be found, in which case it is the last one. So let's make that auto. And we'll say if input delimiter is standard string no position, then input delimiter is the input's length. So I can do this clever thing where I say const auto next input is input's substring 0 to the input delimiter. And then inputs is input's substring from input delimiter plus 2 to the end, because we're skipping the comma space. And if it's at the end, it'll just go past the end and give us empty anyway. So inputs can't be const. And for everything we parse off of this thing, we're going to have a function to build it, to parse it. So let's say recipe dot output equals parse chemical. Line dot substring output delimiter plus 4, right? And then here it is recipe dot input dot push back parse chemical next input. All right, and then getting rid of this stuff. Let's just verify our work so far. When we get down to here, we'll just print out all the recipes, right? So for const auto recipe and recipes. Let's say printf. Sure. Let's do a string. I'm doing it backwards from right to left. I don't know why. Recipe dot second. Actually, let's. I forgot to do that part, didn't I? I need to actually add it to recipes. So that is recipes recipe dot output dot name equals recipe, right? And then we're done. So second dot output dot name. Actually, let's have another helper here. That was parse chemical. We'll have print chemical. Not print chemical. How about format chemical? And then before that, let's do a printf to the recipe name. Recipe.first.cstring. And then for const auto input in second.input. That should be inputs, shouldn't it? Yeah, I think that should be inputs. Inputs. Hey there, Darrow. What am I creating? I'm creating the solution, I hope, to Advent of Code Day 14, Part 1. So Advent of Code is a series of programming challenges that has been around for about 5 years. And a new one is given out every day until Christmas, starting December 1st. So in the next 10 minutes, actually, puzzle number 17, or day 17, puzzle 1 will go live. And then people will compete to be one of the first 100 to actually solve it. I'm not going to be able to compete today because I'm still catching up. I waited until day 13 to actually start. And so I did the first 4, and then I did the next 6. And the next 2 today, and tonight I'm doing this one. I'm hoping to catch up and maybe compete in some of these up here to see how far I get. Backend? There is no backend. This is just making programs to solve puzzles. So literally, like the very first one was to write a program that does this. Here's the pseudocode, do it. Basically do some math just to get you started. So puzzle 1, part 1 is very easy. And then some of these are more harder than others. So I'm on 14 right now, where it's saying, here is a list of recipes. Figure out how much ore you need to make 1 fuel. It's basically a dependency diagram, and we're solving for that. Hey there, said who. Oh, I forgot to wave to you guys. Hey there, Darrow, and hey there, said who. So what I normally do on my channel is I'm working on a game. And if you want to learn more about it, there's a 2-minute video that talks about it. But today and tonight and last Friday and probably tomorrow, I'm just participating in this coding challenge that you too can participate in. If you go to Advent of Code and like log in through GitHub or whatever, or Reddit, you can compete to see how quickly you can solve these puzzles when they go live. And if you're like me and you're catching up, you're not so much competing for time, you're mostly seeing, just enjoying doing them and maybe catching up, the feeling of accomplishment of actually solving them all, that kind of thing. But if you just want to see the problems and see how they're solved, there's lots of people posting. You can also go to my GitHub where I'm putting up my solutions. So my GitHub is there. So we're on day 14, puzzle 1 right now. Hey there. How are you doing, said who? Okay. You're currently teaching yourself HTML. You graduated from tech school, A+ certified. Nice. HTML is very useful. Make yourself some web pages, websites, web-based games. That's what I'm using for my games front end is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So one cool thing about this Advent of Code is you can use any programming language. They just want you to solve a problem that you probably need a computer to solve because the actual, they gave these short examples, but then the real input they provide you for your challenge is a super long one, right? So it's unrealistic that you'd be able to do this by hand, but they don't say what programming language to use, so you could use anything that could compute the answer to this. It's a combination of coding and problem solving. So what I'm having to do, 2 things at once here, is to develop an algorithm to take all of these recipes here and figure out how to get from ore to fuel. That's the algorithm. And then implementing the algorithm is I pick a language, and I'm doing C++ because I'm comfortable with it. But implementing the problem-solving algorithm in whatever language you want, and then get the answer, and then they don't even need you to provide code. You just plug in an answer and submit, and then you're done. So there are plenty of other people probably you can find on Twitch doing this right now. I'm doing it in C++. There are probably others doing it in JavaScript, Java, Rust, you name it. Doing good? I'm doing okay. This was said who? You should try to do this in C. See if you can do these problems. Some of them are easier, some of them are hard. I think that they're kind of interesting. Some of them are almost rage quit difficult. Other ones are like you can do in 10 minutes. You're too lazy? Well, you could probably do day 8 at least. Day 8 was the easiest so far for me. All right. So I just wanted to make sure my parsing code works. So I'm taking this as an input file and building basically a data structure, which is an unordered map, which is like a hash table, a hash, so that we can do a quick lookup of an output that we want and what's the recipe to use to build it. And a recipe is we get an output chemical out of a list of input chemicals, and the chemical has a name and a quantity. So that matches the syntax here, so to speak. So I need Parse Chemical and I need Format Chemical, and I'm not done with this because, right, I was going to print out, this would be an S, and if it's not the first, we're going to want to print a comma, so I'll use this trick where I do first true. If not first, printf a comma space, and then say first is false, and then print the Format Chemical input. And I just need Format Chemical and I need Parse Chemical, so let's do those. So standard string Format Chemical gets a const chemical, and this one's really easy. We're just going to I'm going to use my good old friend ostring, which is a stream-oriented string builder. So at the end, we're just going to return the string that it built. So we shift in, because it's stream-oriented, chemical.quantity, and then we're going to shift in a space, and then we're going to shift in the name, chemical.name, and we're done. Easy peasy. So next we're going to do Parse Chemical. This is the harder one. So out of this, we're going to make a chemical, and we're going to be parsing a string, right? Yeah. It's a const, oops, standard string. I can't type tonight. That's fine. Let's call this the encoding. Because you can think of it as we're decoding a chemical from a string. So I believe that what we want to do is just use printf because it's easy. So I will do chemical, return it. And then, excuse me, in the middle, we'll just say we're not gonna care about the return value. We'll just use scanf, encoding C string, and then it's gonna be a decimal, no, a ZU because I'm using size T because I'm a weirdo, and then string, right? Actually, that requires that we have allocated the space for it. This is gonna look ugly, so you know I'm gonna back up a little bit. I'm not gonna use scanf. I'm gonna first find the space in it and split it, and then scan off the quantity. So that will go chemical.quantity. But I'm gonna pull this off first. So const auto delimiter. I can't spell again. Maybe it's this wonderful Russian Imperial Stout that I'm drinking from North Coast. Totally not sponsored. I just like that beer, and I found it at Bevmo, so I'm drinking it tonight. Let's see. This is encoding.find a space. And let's see. That's just IntelliSense not catching up, right? Come on, IntelliSense. There you go. So, so then it's not encoding, it's encoding substring to the delimiter. And then encoding, no, chemical name is encoding.substring delimiter +1. And IntelliSense is still catching up, isn't it? Oh, I didn't spell it right. That's the correct spelling, right? All right, cool. So that should work. Except that I have a syntax error somewhere. Oh, no, it's not a syntax error. It's just warning me about these specifiers because they're not strings. Right, I have to do a C string. Convert from C++ string to C string. All right, good. So if I run this now, it crashes. All right, so I have obviously have a bug. So let's debug. So I'm going to grab one of these debug profiles and just copy it. Let's do that without wrecking it. Okay, comma, and then it's 14.1, right? 14.1. And then select 14.1 and go. You already started a project and it's really hard, at least for you. It will help, though, if you can. For what I'm doing, I'm trying to do it without hints. If you need a hint, though, I'd be happy to help you out. Invalid string position. So my parsing is wrong somewhere. Let's find out where it is. It's right here. What is input delimiter? It's 5. What are inputs? 9 space ORE. So that is incorrect. So, okay. I thought it could take a position past the end, but I guess it can't. So let's change this around a little bit. If we have no position, then what can I do here? I guess I can just do remainder. Yeah, so remainder. And so that's else. Remainder equals this. Inputs equals remainder. The default will be empty string. Okay, try again. Cool, so did it parse it correctly? Let's compare that to the example here. And to get A, it's 9 or produces 2A, correct. B, fuel, okay, so it sorted it arbitrarily because it's an unordered map, right? So it's this last rule came next. It doesn't really matter the order because it's more or less a hash table. So the B recipe, it's 8 or... Okay, it looks like it's working. B, C. I'm going to say it's working. All right, cool. So that part works. Next will be, we need to basically track backwards from one fuel back, right? So we'll start with one fuel. We'll start a list of chemicals that we have and quantities, and then we'll just work it backwards until we only have ore left. So I'm going to comment this out. This is display. Actually, we don't need it anymore. I can delete it. If nothing else, I will have it in my VOD. So beginning with one fuel, I use recipes to work backwards until we are left only with ore. And then we're going to print out how much ore we have left. That's the answer. Welcome back, Crumpet. So our current chemicals on hand, we need to hold somewhere. I think it's just going to be an unordered map of chemicals. Shoot. We should have it a key by the name, right? Sure. Actually, do I even need a chemical there? I can just make it from that to quantity. Yeah, so quantity. So this is quantities. Feel like you're living in the land of the lost? Back from the land of no power? Did you lose your power? I'm sorry. What could be useful for my game? You mean the solutions to these puzzles? Perhaps. Oh, on your screen you have power. Oh yeah, yeah. So one of the puzzles actually reminded me of some of the problems I was facing in my game. I think it was number 9 or 10. Yeah. So, oh, I'm being rated. User 335. Hey, dude. How was your stream? Rating with a party of 4. You're seeing me doing one of my rare surprise late night streams because I'm having fun with this advent of code thing. I know that you're really busy with your game, but if you ever need a break, there's this thing called Advent of Code, which is basically a pair of programming challenges, one per day, starting at December 1st and leading up till Christmas. And every 24 hours, a new one gets unlocked. So actually 17 just got unlocked like 4.5 minutes ago. And I started on day 1. No, I started late. So like on day 13, I was at 1 and I've been catching up. So now it's day 17 and I've caught up to where I started, essentially. Thank you for the follow. Yay. Yeah, so you guys should hang out and check out User 335's channel if you haven't. He's working on a pretty cool game called Renditions of the Awakening. Did I get it right? And it's a game in Unity. It's pretty unique in that you are playing a summoner who is pretty passive. You just summon demons and you let them wreak havoc on the world. And I like the fact that it has this unique game style that not a whole lot of other games have. And also, he's very dedicated to working on it, so you should check it out. So I'm usually, if you haven't been here before, I'm usually working on my game. And if you're new and you haven't seen it, I have a 2-minute summary of what my stream is about. And yeah, today, Friday, and maybe tomorrow, I'm kind of taking a break from working on my game to do these coding challenges because a lot of other streamers I watch are doing them, and it looked like fun. There's a little bit of a competition too because there's actually a countdown if you're like a few hours to go or whatever, you would see a countdown here. It just unlocked, so we don't see a counter. But like right when it unlocks, like everyone who's using this feverishly tries to solve it, and the top 100 people get points scored on this leaderboard, and you can see like who has the most points and all that. So if you're a competitive speed coder, it would be kind of fun. I'm not really competitive. I'm just saying, can I solve them, and just having fun working on them. So I'm doing this in C++, and I was talking to Sedhu right before the raid, and talking about how some of these problems might be useful when I'm working on my game, and I'm like, yeah, day 10, puzzle number 2 had to do with doing ray casting, and ray casting in a discrete XY grid, which is what I have in my game. And it talked, and the challenge was to compute angles between a source grid position and any target, and then to rotate clockwise around. You're basically having an asteroid mounted laser destroying all the asteroids around it in a sweep, and you have to do the sweep correctly so that you have to know which asteroid got hit on the 200th hit to get the answer correct. And so I had to do a bunch of special ray casting, and while I was writing this, I'm like, some of this stuff would be useful if I need to do ray casting in my game later, because for one, I didn't know how to do it right. That's why the code looks clumsy. Once I refactor this, I'll maybe have some insight into what are some efficient ways to do ray casting in a discrete 2x2 grid. I know I got the right answer, I just don't know if it's the fastest way to do it. So yeah, I'm on day 14, and this is a more traditional problem of solve the dependency chart, where if you want one fuel, how much ore do you need? If you can only use these recipes, right? So in this example here, if I want one fuel, I need 2 ABs. So I need to find the AB recipe and do it twice. That means I need 6 A's. So you get 6 A's, I got to run this one 3 times, so I'll need 27 ore to get all the A's that I need. And so we're running a program to figure out how much ore do we need to, go through all these recipes and to end up with one fuel. So that's what I'm trying to solve. But this is very much a dependency graph problem, where you can think of it as, this is the thing we're building, and these are our ultimate inputs, and all these are intermediaries, right? And if you only care about the ultimate inputs, like the problem does, we're just getting one number, which is how much ore do we need. But a more complicated thing would be find the optimal path through this to minimize waste and all that. Maybe that's part 2 of the problem. Who knows? And so it can get kind of complicated, but it has some practical implications about if you're building a graph like this and then navigating through the graph and finding the most optimal path. So, yep. Okay. See you, Toulouse. I'm going to go a little bit slower because you're not here to correct me, but that's okay. Sleep well. Pathfinding, yeah. So this, we don't need to do pathfinding so much because there's only one recipe to produce every intermediate product or output. And so it's, the path is easy, right? It's just trickle down. We start from one fuel and we go backwards. How many ore do we need? So that's how I'm going to implement it right now. Hold on a second. I got, hold on. How am I going to pause this? How about I'll do this key thing? I'll be right back. That was someone wishing me a good night in the house. Use predictive parsing. Predictive parsing. I'm not sure what that is. I know parsing as opening the text file and reading the characters to figure out what it is in memory. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm taking this recipe and putting it into this data structure. So this unordered map is the C++ version of a hash table, where this is the key, which is a string, and then the value is the recipe, and the recipe is a chemical output, and then one or more inputs. Vectors is fancy C++ version of an array. And every chemical is just a name and a quantity, just like these show. So 2A would be a 2 for the quantity and A for the name. So I have that much of the solution done where we got it into our data structure. Now we're going to try to implement, beginning with one fuel, we're going to work backwards until we're left only with ore. So we're going to fill this with quantities fuel equals 1. And now we're going to say while how do we work backwards? I guess we want to go back until we're left only with, actually, what if we end up with extras? I guess we'll toss them in the moment. So Let me think about this. No, we'll just produce more ore than we need, right? Yeah. Predictive parsing, you can choose what to parse next based on the input. In this case, you can run it backwards. Oh, you're saying like I could start with that recipe and say, okay, now we need to look for these 3 recipes, which are here, and then we reduce those to these 3 recipes up here? Sure, I guess we could do that. I'm doing the more straightforward approach in my mind, which is parse all the recipes into memory, and then now we have a nice hash table, so we can put that into our list, and then we say, okay, we're starting with fuel, find the fuel recipe, which is this one. Okay, now look at the inputs, and then replace the one fuel with those, and then so on and so forth. So I think I want to just continue until we only have ore left. So while I guess we can make a helper for this. While not only ore quantities, and we'll define this up here, only ore given this data structure here, I think we can just walk through it, and if we see anything that is not ore, we can return false. So for const auto quantities entry in quantities, if quantities entry dot first is not equal to ore, return false. Otherwise, return true. Presuming that we will at least have ore in there somewhere. So while we don't have only ore, I think we'll just take the first thing on the list and take it off and find the matching recipe, replace it with its inputs, and put those inputs back in, right? So we'll take the first thing off. The first thing would be quantities begin. So let's just say const auto first quantity equals that. And that will have, why does it say list iterator? It's got 2 things, right? Const auto, I guess we can take a reference to name is first quantity dot, or arrow, first, and quantity. These names I don't like. I'm not really good with names. So this will be the size. So if that's what we're removing, so I'll remove it now. Quantities erase first quantity. Oh, we don't want to do it if it's ore though. So let's advance the iterator until it's not ore. While first quantity first is equal to ore plus first quantity. So it'll be the first non-ore thing that we have left. We'll remove it. Oh, can't be const either. We'll remove it from the quantities and then replace it with the inputs of the recipe that produces it. So we need to find the recipe. Const auto recipes entry is recipes find name. And then I'm just going to assume that there is a recipe to produce it, otherwise we're screwed, right? So the recipe will have a number of outputs it produces, and we'll have the number that we need. So we'll need to round up to the number of recipes that will produce it, right? So if I take the quantity that we need and I'll do the plus a whole -1 trick. Or do quantity plus recipe. Let's get the numbers here. Const auto output a quantity per batch, I guess. It'll be recipes entry second dot output dot quantity. And then so if that is that -1 divided by quantities per batch. That's the number of batches, right? So the reason why I added that -1 is to because we're going to do a divide. We want we're going to throw away the remainder, but we want this times that to be at least equal to that. I'm hoping I did my math right. So let me just go through this in my mind. So if, let's say we needed 3, whereas if we need quantity is 3 and quantity per batch is 2. This would be 3 plus 2, which is 5, -1, which is 4, divide by 2, so that would be 2. So we get 2 batches, we'd end up with oh, okay. Let me do this in my mind again. So if quantity is 3 and quantity per batch is 2, that means num batches is 3 plus 2 minus 1 divided by 2, which is 2. So that means we get 2 times 2, we get 4, and we need at least 3. We'll end up throwing 1 away, which is fine, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me try in my mind another example. So if this was 2, it'd be 2 plus 2 minus 1, which is 3, divided by 2 is 1. That's correct. And then let's go up one more. 4 plus 2 is 6, minus 1 is 5, divided by 2 is 2. 5 would be 3. So that all works out. So that's the number of batches that we need. So then we're basically take number of batches times the quantity of every input and put it back into the unordered map. So for const auto input in recipes entry second dot inputs. Quantities input dot name plus equals num batches times input dot quantity. Is that right? I think it is. And then we loop it, and then at the end we'll only have or left, right? So we'll have we will need or, that much or, and so that will be quantities or. Done. All right. I feel like this one was more talking than writing code, but let's see. I didn't print anything, so I must have made a mistake somewhere. Run it in the debugger, and we'll see where the error is. There's the error right away. And, oh, name is bogus. First quantity. Oh, is it because I erased it? Oh, I can't do that. I had to make a copy of it. Or I could erase it at the end. No, I can't do that because when you modify an unordered map like this, then it can invalidate the iterator. So we really do need to make a copy of the name. We can't use a reference because that iterator is invalidated. There we go, 172 OR. So is that the answer than the example? Let's see. They would have said what it was. They said 31, so I got it wrong. Unless, did I copy the wrong input example? 9. Okay, I did copy wrong. So it's 165. Is that what my program said? No, 172, because I'm wrong. All right. I guess we should print out what we're doing at the time so I can see where my math is in error. So we'll say let's see, needing something of something using making something batches, and then the quantity that we need is quantity, the thing is name, and that's num batches. And then we'll put in here produced. Producing something something. I think that's all we need, right? Quantity of input name. That's actually num batches times input quantity for that. Okay. Alright, so needing one fuel, making one batches. So producing 2 ABs, 3 BCs, 4 CAs. So we need 3 BCs, making 3 batches of it. So that's 15 Bs, 21 Cs. Needing 21 Cs, making 5 batches of C. Right, so it's 35 ore, right. And then 2 ABs. Hey there, Berth, how are you doing? Trying to figure out my mistake in making this, because I got an answer of 172. We're doing Invalid code, I'm on day 14. I'm just seeing if the examples work before I try my answer to the real problem. This is the example. It says we should get 165. I got 172, and I'm trying to figure out where the math mistake is. So 21 C's is from here, right? That's 35 ore, and then 2 ABs was from here. 2 batches of AB, 3 A's and 4 B's, 6 A's, 8 B's, correct? You don't know C++, honestly? That's okay. With the advent of code, you can use any programming language. I happen just to be showing how to do it in C++, but you could use almost any language. This is mostly problem solving, so it's given these reaction recipes, and you need one fuel. How much ore do you need? And then they talk about, well, this is what you have to do, so you'll need that much ore to get that in the end. And the challenge is to write a program to do this, because the real input is much bigger. So for me, the input I got was this huge list here, which is 60 different recipes. And the fuel one is there's a lot of inputs, so they make it so that the real input is too hard to do by hand. And the examples they show are easy. You can do it by hand just to verify your code. So that's what I'm using right now. Comparing what my solution does with this example to how they walk you through it, and see where I made a mistake. Okay, 64 ore to produce 24 Bs, but I got 23 somehow. How did I get 23? I don't get it. Okay, that's wrong, right? Oh, wait. It's going to waste a B. Right, 15 plus 8 is 23. So wait a minute, where's my ore calculation wrong? 45, is it the C's then? Aha! 21 C's and then 16 more C's. Did I not add, is it not adding correctly? I'm not using Subsystem for Linux, I'm using Windows. So I use VS Code and conemu for my terminal. That said, since this is VS Code, it would look the same on Linux, so it might look it might be confusing, because you might be used to seeing this in Linux too. And also, conemu uses this kind of format, which I guess looks similar to Linux as well. Hey there, Mr. Halsey. How are you doing? Oh, and I forgot to wave to user. He's probably gone. But just in case he's here, hi! Okay, I did a math mistake here somewhere. They say you need 40 Cs, and I needed Oh, we wasted. Okay, I see the problem. We needed 21. We produced too much and we wasted it. So I should store that we have some extras. I know, we should have like an inventory of extras. Or should I put that into quantities? Right now we're erasing, but really I don't want to erase it. Let me think about this. The C recipe makes 5, and if we need 21, we're going to make 25 and we'll have 4 left over. Right, so I should store the leftovers because when we need more, we can subtract from the leftovers. Yeah, let's have a leftovers thing here. Sure. So we have... Actually, I can just refine this. We can say quantities needed and then quantities on hand or inventory. Quantities needed. And then we'll have an inventory that we start with empty. And what we'll put into inventory is the leftovers. So once we have erased what we needed and we've inserted what we get back out, then if we have leftovers, we'll insert them into the inventory. That's one step. And the other step is we'll look in our inventory before we run batches. If we have stuff in the inventory, we might not need to do as many batches. So let's do const auto leftover. That will be num batches times recipes entry second. Actually, it's just quantity per batch, right? Minus quantity. And that quantity, we should just say quantity needed. Just to be clear, quantity needed. Oops. Yep, late night stream, Jackamus. Because I'm really into this advent of code thing. And there's a link if you're interested in taking a look. It's a different programming challenge or 2 every day for the month of December until Christmas. Okay, and this quantities is quantities needed or... Alright, so if we have leftovers, we're going to put it back into the inventory, right? If leftover is greater than 0, then inventory, and I assume that it might already be in there. Actually, no. If we needed it, it won't have been in the inventory, so we'll just always add it back. It's... Where's the name? Name. I guess name needed. Actually, we'll just say name. Inventory name is leftover. There we go. Might have a look at it this weekend. Yeah, so I thought at first that I didn't really... I think we got to like day 3 or something, day 3 or 4 by the time I even knew about it. And someone told me about it. I'm like, oh, it's already started. I'll just do it next year. And then I realized later, as I saw other people doing it, that it doesn't take all day to do each challenge. So you can effectively catch up. And if you catch up to 17, then you can wait until 18 gets unlocked and then compete to be the first to complete it. If you're within the first 100, you get points. So like on my stats, where is it? Personal stats. I'm not getting any points because I'm not amongst the first 100 people to solve it. But if I catch up, and I could actually jump ahead. I could have, instead of doing 13 through 17, I could have done 17 right when it unlocked and maybe competed. But I kind of don't want to do them out of order, so I'm doing them in order. Once I catch up, I don't think I'll be able to get the top 100, but if you're so inclined to compete speed coding-wise, you could use this as a challenge. Be amongst the first 100, and you score points here, and you maybe even make it onto this leaderboard. So looks like you need to have at least 500 or 495 points to get to the top 100 on the global leaderboard. But some people also set up private leaderboards. You can compete with your friends and stuff like that. Yeah, so if we have leftovers, we want to use them if they're needed later, right? So that would be quantity needed here, right? So there's two possibilities. We might need it and have plenty in the inventory. So let's first reduce it by the inventory. Let's see if we have it in the inventory. So I should have used comments all along to do this. Find the first chemical needed that isn't ore. And remove it from the needed list. Pull from existing inventory first. For any more needed, run batches of the appropriate recipe, adding the inputs onto the quantities needed. And then we basically repeating until the only thing we have left is ore. And if we might have excess inventory, we just toss it, right? So pull from the inventory first. Const auto. Actually, we don't want to do a const, do I? No, it's okay. Const auto inventory entries inventory find name. If that is not equal to inventory end, that means we have inventory. So we can say const auto amount from inventory is the minimum of how much we have. Second, and how much we need, quantity needed, right? And then we'll subtract that from both. So quantity needed minus equals amount from inventory. And then also the inventory will subtract amount from inventory. And then we can delete it if it's empty now. And so quantity needed is not a constant. Whoops. Because we're pulling some of it from inventory, right? If this is 0 now, then we can remove it from the inventory. So void inventory.erase inventory entry. All right, and then the other thing we can do here is we can say if quantity needed is now 0, then we didn't need to produce any, so we can do a continue. And otherwise, the leftover quantity needed we make from batches. Okay, so hopefully this will fix my bug. Let's see. Yay, 165, that's the answer, right? So let's try one of the other examples here. This one. Input in the build folder, and then run it again. 13,312. 13,312, nice. And then we're just making it more and more complicated as we go, right? 180,697. Yep, it's matching. So I'll just do all of them, because we'll take advantage of all of our test vectors. If I was so inclined, I would make a unit test that tries all of these and makes sure that we get what we expect. But I'm just doing it manually. So that number matches that number. Cool. So I'm going to use our actual puzzle input now and see what the answer is. There's the answer. We need 1,046,184 ore. So here's the moment of truth. I plug that in and see if I got it right. I got it right. 1 gold star. Yay. Okay, so that took almost an hour. Why did that take an hour? Was I just talking for a long time? I guess so, huh? I think I'm gonna try to do 14.2 and then call it because I gotta sleep. So, hopefully it doesn't take too long. Usually the part 2s are either really hard or they're really easy compared to part 1s. Occasionally they're as much time. A lot of the time, though, they're less time. I'm hoping that it's a less time one. So let's round that up to 58 minutes. Thank you, Stately. And hello, by the way. I have successfully unlurked you by making you say grats. Okay, so we're going to check this solution in. I'm just going to steal that comment to put it in here. That's 14-1 solution. So yeah, if you wanted to see how this code works up close and personal, feel free to check out my GitHub. I have it under there under Advent of Code. So pushing that upstream now. So on to part 2. Let me start the timer again. Clear, written. Part 2. It must feel nice. It feels nice to get the right answer the first try, yeah. I wish I could do a little bit faster, though. Part 2. After collecting ore for a while, you check your cargo hold. 1 trillion units of ore. Oops. With that much ore, given the examples above, you will produce that much fuel for that ratio. Given 1 trillion ore, what is the maximum amount of fuel you can produce? Wait a minute. That seems simple. Don't I just take this number and divide by the answer to the previous puzzle? I think that's easy. This seems too easy to me. So there's got to be a trick. There's always a trick when something seems that easy. Let me just confirm that I can reproduce the numbers they gave me for the other examples. 2 and 2 and build. Need me to stream longer, though? You want to accumulate more points than Toulouse? We'll see. I should be back tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be doing Advent of Code or back to my game development. I kind of been procrastinating on my game because I'm in sort of a tough spot with the engine, and it's a lot of work. Oh, hold on a second. Just a few moments. I say goodnight to another one of my kids. It's about their bedtime. They're still up at the end of my stream. They'll be in trouble. Okay, that is building. Yeah, I've been kind of procrastinating on my game because I'm running into more difficult problems like making things efficient enough to run in production and having to cache more stuff. So you lose momentum. It sometimes helps to switch gears, try something else for a while, take a break, and then come back to it fresh. So soon I'll get back to my game and it'll be fresh again. Yeah, not too long. I think a week or 2 is fine. If I get... Yeah, I think you're right, though. If you stop looking at it for, like, over a few weeks, then you're kind of rusty going back to that. All right, so, let me just have it compute this number. And this number. So if that is the... Okay, we'll just have it print that. We will need that much ore per fuel. And let's rephrase this. That much ore what's going on with my keyboard? Is used to produce 1 fuel. So the other way to think about it is this fuel will, well, actually, or will produce that much fuel. And then we'll have 2 numbers, right? So one is a constant, const x per. This is ore, and this is this magic number they gave me, which seems big to me. Millions, billions, so it's 1 trillion. Actually, they probably said that. Yeah, 1 trillion units. So I think it sounds easy enough. I just want to take ore and divide by quantities needed. Am I missing something? Or isn't it just that easy? 14-2. And run it. So is that the answer? I don't know. I'm not feeling very confident. I think I will try their examples. This one again, right? So that, go to the build folder. Is that the number? No, it's the wrong number. I think it's because of the excess inventory produced is being fed back in. I think I need to work it in the opposite direction, don't I? Or I can account for the excess inventory somehow. Maybe turn it into a floating point number. How off am I? I'm off not by a whole order of magnitude. I'm pretty sure it's because of the leftovers. So maybe I should print out what the leftovers are to get a better idea of this. Okay, so this is a tricky problem, it turns out. Let's print out the leftovers. Leftover inventory for const auto inventory entry in inventory printf. I can just use this printer, right? Format chemical. It needs it in chemical form, so I can put it in chemical form. Chemical name is inventory entry dot first. Chemical quantity is inventory entry dot second. Format the chemical and print it. Okay, that needs to be a .c string to convert from C++ to C. Okay, so this is our leftover inventory for every batch of that much ore to produce one. So we produce one fuel, but we also produce these leftovers. So that it's what you can do with these leftovers, right? I think that's the trick. Is you know what we can do is we can get that number. I know, we can do a binary search. We can just use this number to strike at what that one will we'll see how this is an estimate of how much fuel that will produce, but then we can take that number and work back how much ore is required, and it'll give us a higher number or lower number, and then we can advance it and guess and until we find the exact number. Why do we only care about limiting the reagent? We only care about the limiting reagent, don't we? Yeah, but which one? Right? How do I know which one? I think the binary search thing would work. Let me see what... Let's have it go over... if we make this whole thing a function, we can do that, right? Yeah. Let's just make this a whole function. What variable do I want? Or needed? So, const auto or needed is calculate or needed for one fuel. And so this is that whole function. And we'll include this too. So what did I call it? Calculate or needed? Size t, calculate or needed for a certain number of fuel, right? So it's this, return quantities needed or, and then this is fuel. right? And then we just call that once. And then I don't need all this stuff. And then so it's not that it will produce, or let's say estimating that that one ore will produce that much fuel, and then feed it back in. So just we'll do another variable. Actually, let's just reuse it. Ore needed is calculate ore needed for this number, and then print it again. Actually, we don't need to print it again. What did I miss? Oh, recipes is needed, so that's this guy. Fuel based off of the recipes. Const recipes. Recipes. Okay. Did I do that right? Oh yeah. Okay, so it runs it twice. So it does that and then it does it again. And it gets... Okay, this is not the right number. It shouldn't have said 1. It should actually put in a number there. Fuel. So right, this number is too low, right? So we would go up until we found it. So how much higher? Do we just double it? And then we, I guess we would double until it goes over and then go between. So we'd have an upper and a lower. We need to find the upper limit. So I think we can just do double until we get past it. So, I guess we don't need the producing and needing anymore. So let's comment that out. And it's kind of interesting to see the leftover inventory, isn't it? I'll just keep that for now. And then we'll just double it until it goes past the target. So we know we're always going to undershoot the first time, right? So this will be min ore needed. And we'll just have this repeat. So do, or no, while. No, we need to do a do. Shoot. Actually, no, I can do a while. While ore divided by min ore needed is let's actually make another variable, ore needed. And then while ore needed, well, that ratio, while that ratio is less than, oh, wait a minute, am I doing the wrong, I'm doing the wrong variable, aren't I? It's ore. No, it's not. It was printed out here. It was return, it was the return value, so it is that one. While ore needed is less than this constant. So this constant is, yeah, ore. Then, yeah, I guess we'll print that out again. And then do this again. Wait a minute. I'm not thinking about this clearly. I need to do a do, and this is the fuel, and the end of that ends up being the output, but only when that gets to be this. So I guess yes. Well, it's not equal. Assuming that it's we don't have leftover ore. I'm guessing that we never have any leftover ore. Yes. So shoot. This goes outside the loop, actually. Auto that. Is my Twitch bot library public? Yeah. You can look at my GitHub, and there are two elements there. There's the Twitch messaging API, which is called Twitch, and there's also a project called Bouncer, which is my stream helper, which uses some of that, and it's like a Windows application that I use that shows me like lots of interesting statistics, like this stuff. Who last chatted, how long they've been, watching, that kind of thing. It also does a little bit of Twitch API stuff. But one caveat is that it has a pretty big dependency tree. Not quite this bad, but kind of like this, in that a lot of my stuff, to build it, you need other things that I made, and so you'll end up with a list of like 12 of my Git repos. You'll probably have to pull all of them. Unless you're just interested in how I did some small element of that, and then you can just browse the source code. That'll probably work. Okay. Download Unity, start a few tutorials. Oh, you don't have any idea how it works, but good starting point to learn coding? What's a good starting point to learn coding? Probably the tutorials that come with just about every language or framework or library out there. So, for example, if you wanted to learn how to make websites using React, like single-page applications, for example, you might have heard of React. You could go to Google, type React, and actually, you'll end up in the top page here, but yeah, if you were to just start this tutorial, the very basic stuff, it builds off of knowing HTML, right? But let's say you get the prerequisite out of the way. You know HTML, but you don't know React. Well, it's just adding a little bit of stuff to the HTML you already know. And this would be a perfect thing to learn React, for example. So programming languages would be even more basic. If you just follow a tutorial online about C or C# or Java, they'll have you build up something like a tic-tac-toe game like this, step by step. And you can go through that as quickly as you already are familiar with the concepts, or as slower if you're not. That's what I would recommend. Start doing what you intend to. It can be intimidating, though, if you're trying to make a game and you don't know programming at all. You might want to start with something basic, some elemental part of the programming. And then once you feel like you know at least something, like how to make a loop, how to make a function, then you can like start directing it towards what you intend to do, like making a game or making a website. It can be really intimidating if you don't know programming at all. It's like, I know this much, and I need to know that much. How do I get there? It's kind of hard. I would recommend just sticking to the basic tutorials until you at least know all the elementary concepts. What's a variable? What's a function? What's a loop? That kind of thing. So, I'm confusing myself, maybe because it's almost 10 o'clock, but if this is the minimum and we need to go up, we need at least that much. I don't need to do that because we're going to do one pass of it. There, yes, so I need this up here, don't I? No, wait a minute. These numbers are completely wrong. I messed this up, didn't I? This is 1 per. I messed this up. This is to make 1 fuel how much ore is needed. Why do I have it min ore needed then? Because I'm dividing it by... Okay, this is just not the right variable name. Let's call this, No, don't I, Oh, it's in the second call. So it's this. So this, let's give this another... We're going to run this twice then, right? Okay. Console apps are another good way to start. I mean, that's what this is. This is a console app where you have a main... This is C, C++ begin the same way. It's like my program starts here, and don't even worry about this stuff. These are how you pass arguments to the command line. So if I did like A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, those end up in the argv, and the C would be, you know, either 2 or 3, depending if you count the command itself. But yeah, this is where your program starts, and you can do stuff and print and then return, and then you run it. That's a very elementary program you can run on the command line. That's what I've been using to solve these problems because it's simple and easy. Okay, this is ore per fuel, right? Ore per fuel. And this is really max ore per fuel because we will end up with more than we need. Because we have leftovers. Yeah, so this is max ore per fuel. And then we'll start by doing that. That will be a minimum, right? Yeah. So this is, let's copy this. Min ore needed is this number divided by max ore per fuel. And then that'll be too low, right? Let's see what that gives me. That should give me the same output I already have. Nope. Run it again, please. Yeah, so it's the same. Okay, so I think I want to then loop and double until I go over, and then start doing a binary search. So let's say for it's this number that's too low. Yeah. We need this number to reach that number. Okay, so while... There's an alarm going off in the background. It's really bugging me. I'm deciding if I should get up and turn it off or let my kids turn it off if they hear it. Hold on, let me go yell to ask them to turn it off. All right, it's being taken care of. I can't think though. This is what you will end up if you start programming when it's too late. Is everything in the Twitch folder required? Depends on what you want it for. It's a library to interact with Twitch chat, so it might be more than you need. Or it might not be enough, because it depends on other things. So, let's see, min or need... it's this number I really care about. So what am I going to do in the second iteration then? If that is the guess... Okay, so this is a minimum fuel produced, not minimum ore needed. So auto min fuel produced is ore divided by max ore per fuel. And then we want to keep, right, so fuel produced is min fuel produced. And then ore needed is ore. No, I don't need that. I don't need that variable at all. I wanted to say while fuel produced is less than no, I need that line. And it's this. Right. While fuel, let's just make this a do. Ore needed. Or am I running this twice? Once outside the loop, and then I say while ore needed is less than ore? Then we're doubling the fuel produced? I think that's what I want to do. And then recalculating it? Yeah, okay. My head's starting to clear up. I think I know what I'm doing. You like how my library has barely files in most bot libraries? Well, mine is not complete yet. It only does some Twitch chat. So it might be smaller because it just doesn't do as much. You're making a bot that mods automatically for you. For example, if they say blacklisted word, it will DM them. Okay. Sounds cool. Okay, so we doubled the fuel and we got over. So then, yeah. So then I want to have it basically narrow it down until it finds it, right? Binary search will do. Actually, this could be a not equal. And I can say if... Well, no, we need to get a bound, right? Now we have a bound, we have a max fuel produced. Auto... So this is a const. This can also be a const. Max fuel produced. Oh, wait a minute, no, they can't be. We're gonna raise and lower them until we get the right answer. Fuel produced. And then while ore needed is not equal to ore, then we'll say if ore needed is greater than ore, then we select oh wait a minute, no, I need to pick the midpoint. That's right. Do while ore needed is not equal to ore. So we pick the midpoint of the two, right? So this one. If fuel produced, no, if ore needed, we need to go in between the two, yes. So fuel produced equals max fuel produced To go between them, it's add them and divide by 2, right? Min fuel produced plus that divide by 2. And then if it's higher or lower, if it's higher than the target, then we want to reduce the, we want to set the max fuel produced equals fuel produced. Otherwise, set the min to fuel produced. And then we just run this in a loop until we hit it, right? Remove the const. Okay. I think it didn't converge completely because I probably have an off by 1 error somewhere. So it goes 9, then 18, then 13, then 11, then 10, 9, 6, 9, 9, and then it's, so it's converging pretty quickly. And then it gets to a point where it stalls, right? Right here, between these two numbers. So what did their thing say? 82892753. Oh, yeah. So when we get down to plus minus 1, we pick the higher of the two. Right? Because we'll just have leftover or. Oh, no, that's not how it works. No, we need to pick the lower one, right? So we'll have 1 trillion minus that leftover or. Got it. Okay, so I need to detect the case where we're only going up and or down by 1. How will we know when we're going up and down by 1? Actually, it's where it stops, right? It would help if I printed that out. Print min max min fuel produced max fuel produced. Let's see that number. Okay. All right, so we can detect the case where we're between two numbers. So if the max minus min is 1, we pick the max one, don't we? No. We pick the min one and we have leftover or. Yes. Okay, so when do we know to stop? I guess right here. If max fuel produced minus min fuel produced equals 1, then we've reached our answer and we use the min, don't we? Yeah, and we have leftover. So fuel produced is min fuel produced. And actually it should already be because of the way that works. So we just break. Actually, then I can include it into this. We either hit our exact number or yeah, so while they're not equal and this is is greater than 1. Greater than 1. And then we're done. There we go. So that's our number, right? No, I'm off by 1. Shoot. I guess we need to go 1 more. So I guess I could move it up to here. That would work, right? No. I need to, I guess I need to do this one more time at the end. Sure, there's a cleaner way, but I'll just do it one more time. Nope. It, how come that ended early? Reaches out hands for point. Why would I be reaching out my hands for a point? Why did it stop there? What does the current task say? Oh, sorry. There you go. There's your point. Wow, it's been 36 minutes with me working on this and I haven't finished it. Yeah, I need to go to bed after this. So, what did I do wrong here? I'm off by 1 somehow. Because that's off by 1. I think the problem is I'm doing a do while instead of a while do. Yeah, I really should be moving that to there. But that means I need to do one of these first, right? Hold on. I need to do this first, right? And then remove this break. I'm sort of kind of guessing because I'm tired. I actually got the right answer there. I didn't have to do an extra one either, so I don't need that one. I think I got it right. So that's the answer. So let me try some of the other examples. This one for the input. Then run this again. That number, does that match here? Yes. Okay, and then the most complex one. That number, does that match this? Yes. Okay, cool. So I fixed it using a binary search that it took me a while to get right. And let's get our real input and then run the code on the real thing. Got a lot of byproducts, and that's the answer. What we get with the trillion ore. We get that much fuel and all these byproducts, including a bunch of extra ore. So that's my answer. Final answer. It's my final answer. Yes. Okay. Cool. I guess I'm just going to check it in and go to bed. So we'll work on maybe 15 tomorrow. Like, I kind of want to keep going until I catch up. So that's 14.2. And that was 30, let's just say it's 40 minutes. Git push. Just vent the pipe byproduct into space. Yeah. Did the highlight your message work? Because I don't see it in Yada. Okay, I'm not quite done yet because I got to do some bookkeeping here. 14-2 took me 40 minutes. So I think they are getting harder. That one was really tough. I did that earlier today, and this I did tonight. This is my average time. This is a little bit more. And then where am I? Here, I need to do 3 more to catch up. I could maybe do that tomorrow and then be caught up to do 18 tomorrow night. They're not all getting difficult. And looking at the duration spread here, these took longer because I was still getting used to it. This I just got stuck on. And then they just vary in difficulty. Like this 3.1 was a little bit harder. 7 was a little bit harder. 8 was really easy. 5 and 6 were easy. Part 2 of 9 was ridiculously easy. And these seemed to, like 10 and 11 started to get harder, and 12 was really hard, but then 13 was not so hard. It's like going up and down. I guess in general they're getting harder. If I were to plot this, I guess there are a lot more things that are over half an hour, whereas before they weren't. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? All I know is that I think it's doable that I can catch up in the next day or so. So we're gonna try to do that tomorrow, and I think, unless I want to go back to work on my game, but I'm kind of into it now. I'm kind of invested, at least to catch up. So I'm gonna go to bed, and before I do that, I'm gonna find someone else to raid. So I have no idea who's gonna be streaming right now. Maybe no one that I know. How do I see who I'm following? Following, there we go. Oh, Adam's still going? Oh, we can raid Adam. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna raid Adam C. Eunice, because I hardly ever get to raid him. And he is a pixel artist. So he's a great guy. He's in Australia. He's working on shaders and effects for his game called Insignia. And we're gonna go say hi to him, all right? So, and I'll be back tomorrow morning, I hope. So let me enter this into the raid. There we go. And I'm starting the raid. So here we go. So we're doing a switching of gears from coding to art. I hope you enjoy it. I will catch you guys later, all right? So have a good one, and thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Bye.